All right, welcome back to Meet the Coach. Today, we've got Dakota Tillman. He is the Wayne County, that's in Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, special teams coordinator and outside linebackers coach. He's a one-on-one coastal punting coach, also a Georgia football scoop 30 under 30, and also a part of our coaching network. Some behind the scenes, some in front of the camera here, host some of our events here. Dakota, thank you, sir, for joining me.
Appreciate it, man.
Of course. Not that we didn't just talk for 20 minutes before this, but now we hit record and now we're going. All right. So as I said, we met you, I don't know how many months ago, but brought you on and you're doing stuff with us, but want to talk about you and your coaching, like not about our coaching network per se at all. But so talk to us a little bit about your career as a player, played college football, and then how you fell into this whole coaching deal and where you're at now and how you got there.
Yeah. So I was a specialist. I ended up being a kicker and punter, but I did not do that. Growing up, coming through middle school and most of high school, I actually had two bad shoulder injuries. I played quarterback and linebacker, tore up my shoulder a couple of times and decided, I'm not going to keep getting hurt. So talked to my head coach in high school, said I just wanted to kick because it's something I kind of did on the side, and had a really good senior year of high school and got the opportunity to play at Limestone University. I was there for 3 years. Was fortunate to be under Mike Furry, who was most recently wide receivers coach for the Bears. He's back at Limestone as the head coach. Got to learn a lot from him. Finished up in 3 years. Had 2 years of eligibility left as a grad transfer. Committed to Troy University. Went there, visited and everything. And then a week before I was supposed to go, things didn't work out. Told me they didn't have a spot. So, I'm back in my hometown. I'm still training. The high school coach goes, do you want to help out, coaching our special teams and our kickers? I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm home. Why not?
Did you know, like, all right, I'm done at that point? Or he just kind of brought this to you and you're like, all right, I guess I'll coach these kids that are my age, I guess, 4 years younger. But yeah.
Yes, I was 20 at the time. So a lot of them were like, 2 or 3 years because I finished up early. But no, yeah. I was still training. So I was home all summer. And I was training the kids anyways. And he told me before the whole Troy thing fell through, he said, if you want to coach, I got a spot for you. I was like, yeah. I was like, maybe when I come back and I graduate. But yeah, so it just all worked out to where when that fell through, I was still training that whole season because I still had eligibility left. I had some schools interested, but it came to December. My kid I was training had a very good season. And I just decided in December I didn't have anything solid recruiting wise. Had a couple of interests, but nobody ever really pulled the trigger on me. So I just decided I was going to get into coaching from that point, and worked out, I guess, because
you just kind of fell into it.
Yeah, I'll be honest, if the Troy thing, I was very mad because I always wanted to play D1 football. Opportunity was right there, but if that wouldn't have happened and fell through, I don't think I would be coaching today. So, it all worked out.
Yeah. So how old are you now?
24.
24. So you've been coaching 4 years.
Yeah.
Right. So if you were to go back to 20-year-old Dakota, what would you have told him getting into coaching then?
I'd say the first year or so, I didn't take it as serious as I should. It was kind of like just something I did on the side. I really didn't know where it would take me, but I guess once I started having a little bit of success, and some people say having success early is bad. For me, it was beneficial because it made me see, okay, I could actually be pretty good at this thing. So I started working harder and buying in more seriously, and then doing stuff like this, meeting other people and college coaches and high school coaches around. I got to learn a lot in the last 2 years. I've developed a lot just because building those relationships and networking and getting in touch with the right people and taking more opportunities like traveling, going to schools and visiting people. I didn't do any of that my first couple of years. So I don't think I developed as much as I should have. But once I figured out this is what I wanted to do, I want to be the best I can at it, I started really doing those things. So 20-year-old Dakota was more just like, all right, I'm just going to do what I know and do the best I can. But now I'm always trying to find a way to get better.
Yeah. Well, I know this from what you're saying. You're always at clinics. You're always learning. You're watching the stuff we're doing. You're a part of these events. So I know for sure you're doing those things. Do you think so you've worked, you were a specialist, but by the way, did you play soccer or like, did you have any sort of kicking at all background, like kind of ish?
I quit soccer when I was 7 because I lived in Pittsburgh. And so in Georgia, football is fall, spring is soccer. But up north, they do football and soccer in the fall because it's so cold in the spring. So I quit soccer at that point. But I had always kind of like been the kicker, I guess. But no formal training. I didn't even have any formal coaching kicking wise until college because I struggled so bad as a freshman. I was like, there's got to be somebody that knows more than I do. So luckily the guy I work with now, man. I was fortunate enough for that to happen too.
Oh, nice. That's nice. I didn't realize that. Yeah, that's what I'm from Ohio, so I understand the football, soccer, and the fall thing. Right. Yeah. So you just moved schools 2 months ago.
Yeah, less than a month. Yeah, about a month.
Okay. All right, recently, time's flying over here. So going from your past school to this new school, what are you trying to implement differently than what you've done last year? And obviously, these guys, I don't know who they were coached by last year. A lot of high schools don't have good specialist training. A lot of colleges don't have good specialist training, right? Yeah. Truthfully. What are you teaching to help your specialists specifically around how to become a better specialist? And I don't know if like your specialist at your school is a guy or guys that are they are specialists truly, or they play linebacker and can kind of kick, or they're the quarterback and kind of punt.
Yeah. So the new school I'm at, Wayne County, we have one guy, or we have two kickers that just kick, and then we have a snapper who's just a snapper. Then I have another guy who plays a linebacker for us. So I think the big thing with that, and that I've grown since that first year that I started coaching, I remember that first year I was just specialist. I didn't have any position, so I was just with them the whole time, and that was very beneficial. But me as a young coach, I overkicked my guy that first year. And I realized, and a lot of times we talk in the specialists, we're limiting those reps. It's like a pitcher, he pitches a game and he takes 2 or 3 days off before he throws again. Well, the same thing goes with your specialist. If he's wearing his leg out every single day, by the end of the season, he's not going to be as good as he was at the beginning of the season. So for me not being with them the whole time and coaching outside backers, and then obviously doing the team special team stuff, I have less time with them, but having them understand that they have a rep count and they have to stop and they have to do more drill work rather than just kicking. I think that's been a big part of my development. And then obviously every time I go to a new school, I have to kind of get those guys to buy into that, because if they don't stop themselves from kicking, or when they get tired, they're going to pick up bad habits that we have to go back and fix. But then, come October, November, we're getting into crunch time, getting into playoffs, the leg's not as strong, or they're not snapping as good or punting as good. So that's kind of the big thing specialist wise. If I say special teams, last year was my first year at a school. I had to the first thing I try to do is get those kids to buy into special teams. Like it's that important, game-changing plays. They have to buy into the importance of it. But one thing I'm going to do better this year, I was really focused on my scheme last year, and we were pretty successful on special teams. But this year, I really want to get down to the fundamentals. And when I went to Florida State a couple months ago and clinicked with them, that was one thing they really emphasized. Like, everybody has a good scheme. Your scheme's going to be sound, right? But who's going to be better fundamentally? To me, that's what's going to make the difference. So me going into this new school, I want to build that special teams culture, but also I want our guys to be extremely fundamentally sound, because I know the schemes work because I've done it in the past and they work. I've seen it work on the high school level, the college level. Some NFL guys teach the same stuff, but I just want to be better fundamentally with our special teams at Wayne County.
Sure. So how will you coach teach that in camp here in a couple of weeks differently than you did last year? Because obviously you want to be fundamentally sound last year as well, but how are you looking to improve that, and what are you doing this year?
Yeah, I think I got a better teaching progression. So like for each special teams unit, kickoff, kick return, punt return, I have a better progression for the drills. I think last year, I remember this time last year, we were doing kickoff drills, which I did yesterday with our team at Wayne County. But the difference was last year I did the full drill rather than breaking it up into parts. So I feel like the kids can now understand the first part of the drill, and then we're going to go to the second part of the drill. Then we're going to go to the finish where we're going down and making a tackle on kickoff. So I think just the teaching progression is going to be better this year fundamentally, so they can understand each part of it rather than just doing the whole drill and them not really grasping what they're supposed to do or understanding leverage and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be better this year. We're going to be better fundamentally because, once again, everybody's got good schemes. Who's better fundamentally? What kids understand leverage and, just the football stuff they need to understand to be successful.
Sure. What's one thing you've learned in the last year outside of that makes you a better coach moving forward? Like one thing at a clinic or someone you met with, or a line you heard from one person. What's something that you can take and it's making you a better coach this year?
I think just me going around and networking with coaches, I've realized first off, I need to build my network to get to know people, to learn from them. But I've realized to me, it's not so much as how much football you know. To me, it's about building those relationships with the kids. Because if they're bought into me, it doesn't matter what I'm teaching, they're going to do it. So really build it. I've been more intentional on building those relationships with the kids. And I think that was a big part of our success last year. I built good relationships with our kids, and I had all my starters bought in on special teams. So it made us play better just because they understand I cared about it. I care about them. They care about me. So it's just that back and forth. I'm giving them what they need. They're giving me what I need. So I've been really more intentional with building relationships with the kids, but being around guys who are at the higher levels. Once again, scheme's very important. Fundamentals are important, but if the kids aren't bought into you, they're not going to give you what they need. So that's what I've been better at recently.
Yeah. So moving forward, now you've coached 4 years high school. This will be your fourth year?
This will be my fifth.
Fifth year. Bam.
Yeah, I'll be 25 next month.
So fifth year coaching high school. I know you've talked about wanting at some point to get to the college level.
Yep.
Okay. Where do you want to be as a coach in 4 or 5 years? And that can be like, what you're doing, where you are, level, that type of thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, special teams, I feel like is my niche. I love special teams. I think a lot of guys aren't super passionate about it, or it's just something they do. So I want to stay in special teams. I see myself in 5 years. Hopefully in 5 years, I want to be coming out of an analyst role at the college level, maybe getting ready to be a coordinator. That's kind of my goal. So looking at the next couple of years, I want to get into the college game. Some circumstances, my wife's finishing up school is kind of the reason I'm staying at high school, but definitely get in the college game and go from there. Hopefully 5 years from now, I've done the GA, I've done the analyst stuff, getting ready to take a coordinator spot.
Sure. Cool. All right. Last question. I always like to end on this one. Who's one coach you've not worked with that you'd like to work with in the future?
One coach that I haven't worked with that I'd like to work with. And
why, of course.
Trying to think of some of these guys I've met.
I mean, if you gotta do like two, that's fine. But I try to not make you pick one you've worked with in the past, because then it's like you gotta I hear shit from a bunch of different people. We're like, oh, why didn't you pick me?
Obviously my guy Ray Pickering, man. I mean, I've known him for about 2 years now. He's just I got to hang out with him in Texas at the AFCA convention. I know he's an offensive guy, but just being around him, I just feel like it. His energy, his motivation, his relationships with people, and how he networks and stuff. I just feel like it would be awesome to work with him. Like, he's a guy you want to be around every day. Special teams guys, I really like Turner West, who's at Georgia Southern, real close to me. I've got to know him very well. I think he's a great guy who understands the fundamentals of special teams. I mean, that's all he does. He's not coaching another position now. I've got to know him very well. So he would be a guy I'd like to work for, just because he's been real open with me. Like, as soon as he got hired at Georgia Southern, he came and met me at the school, and we just kind of hit it off then. I'd love to get to work with him eventually.
Awesome stuff. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks for the time. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it.